Messmer, son of Marika the Eternal and possibly second Elden Lord Radagon. Unlike how we know him in the DLC, he might not have always been as cruel or as cold-hearted as you might think he is. First, we need to look into his younger years, and while we do not know much, we certainly do know that he had friends and people who respected him, and he did have good relations with the other demigods as well. The Remembrance of the Wild Boar Rider item description reads, "Both were as elder brothers to the lion, and both were cursed from birth. In spite of, or perhaps because of this very reason, Gaius was both Messmer's friend and the leader of his men." Now, who might Lion be referring to in this context? The only one coming to mind is Radahn. We do know that Gaius was also a student of the same Alabaster Lord who taught Radahn gravity magic. The item description proves this idea. Gaius' helmet description reads, "Gaius was the most senior disciple of the same Alabaster Lord who taught Radahn and Gaia gravitational technique." Now you might be asking, what is the curse of Gaius then? He's an albinoric, and their curse is losing their legs. As they get old, their legs start to fade. This is why in his boss fight, you do not see Gaius' legs. Remembrance of the Wild Boar Rider suggests that Radahn saw Messmer and Gaius as elder brothers, despite him being older than Messmer himself, that is, if Radagon is his father. This suggests to us that Messmer was loved and respected by others around him. However, his life took a turn when his mother, Queen Marika, ordered him to go to war. Crusade, they called it, against what they deemed impure. Crusade insignia talisman item description reads, "The warriors who fought in the crusade set aside both honor and mercy to wantonly impale and scourge those deemed impure." It seems that this crusade was somewhat important to Marika, as she personally bestowed grace to those who participated in the crusade. We learn this from Marika's rune item description. It reads, "Golden remnants of the grace personally bestowed by Queen Marika to the heroes who joined the crusade for her." Now, it's time to talk about Messmer's curse. Remembrance of the Impaler reads, "A malevolent snake writhed within Messmer, and so his very mother plucked out his eye and put in its place a seal of grace. Yet having done so, her fear compelled her to secret away her child within the realm of shadow." We come across thorns that block our passage in the DLC, similar to the impenetrable thorns at the entrance of the Earth Tree in the base game. To burn the thorns, we again need kindling, and the kindling comes in the form of Messmer's flames. Messmer's flames are unique. The fire is kindling similar to Melina. The similarity shouldn't come off as strange though, as the two are likely siblings. Messmer's kindling item description reads, "The kindling that burned inside Messmer the Impaler, a dark thing eaten away by a wicked serpent, burns the sealing tree said to be found at Old Raw Ruins." Messmer, much like his younger sister, bore a vision of fire, so we can speculate that Marika thought or knew that the flames her son had would be akin to those of the frenzied flame, or thought that they would be strong enough to do a similar job to it, considering they can burn the Earth Tree if they decided to go to the Forge of the Giants, now that there was only one fire giant remaining. Messmer wouldn't have too much trouble if he wanted to burn the Earth Tree down. What better way was there to get rid of her son, who could use this kindling and burn the Earth Tree to the ground, and as a result, pose a threat to her rule? So away he went in front of a massive army of soldiers who were loyal to him. His departing was most likely celebrated, kind of like how you would celebrate or cheer for the soldiers going away for crusades in the old days. The Serpent Crest Shield item description says that it's been made to commemorate the beginnings of the crusades started by Messmer, son of Marika. So it seems that his departing was celebrated. Maybe people of the lands between hoped that Sir Messmer would bring them glory and victory. His army didn't only consist of lowborns, there were people who joined it from the upper class of lands between. Even a Carian princess, R'hllana, gave up her birthright and followed Messmer. The Remembrance of the Twin Moon Night item description reads, "Once, a Carian princess, R'hllana, disavowed her birthright and chose to stand at Messmer's side instead, knowing full well that not even the brilliance of the moon could grant him succor. Before long, she became known as Sword of Messmer." And it seems that Messmer truly had a good relationship with these knights, almost to the point of being good friends with them, as they know of his curse. Fire Knight armor description reads, "These were the only ones who truly knew Messmer, his flames like serpents, the painful fate that accompanied his accursed form. So he started the crusade against the impure on his mother's wishes, scorching and impaling the impure in a bloodthirsty cleansing. His flame became the symbol of this crusade. Even the rank and file soldiers would wield it, and those who could not would use fire incantations to show their allegiance to Sir Messmer. There were other knights in Messmer's army called the Black Knights. It seems that he also got along with them, however, it wasn't on the same level of closeness as with his Fire Knights. Because of this, when some of them learned Messmer was cursed, they turned on him. Black Knight Commander Andreas' Spirit Ash item description reads, "The Black Knights were the primary force of Messmer's army. Their first leader was Andreas, a man endowed with great strength and command over the powers of the Crucible, and whose spirit in these ashes dwells. Though he remained a devout follower of Messmer after his flight from the Earth Tree, he would rebel after learning of his liege's serpentine nature. His righteous stand was rewarded with imprisonment in an underground tomb." But Andreas wasn't the only Black Knight that rebelled against his master. His son followed after him. Black Knight Captain Hugh, Spirit Ash item description reads, "Second to the first Knight Commander was Hugh, a man with agile command of both Twin Blade techniques and the powers of the Crucible. Though a champion of the Divine Beast Hunt, he followed his father Andreas into rebellion against Messmer, and like his father, he too was imprisoned in an underground tomb. Messmer mourned the loss of a brother in arms. From his mourning of Hugh, Messmer did really care about his soldiers, seeing them as brother in arms rather than disposable soldiers. The Winged Serpent was their token creature, and of Messmer himself, Winged Serpent Helm item description reads, "The Winged Serpent is the token creature of Messmer's military forces. It is a wise friend, which keeps the base serpent at bay and holds its powers in check. So the two types of serpents, the winged and base, are in a constant circle. The winged one keeps the base serpent at bay and keeps his powers in check. Many people hated Messmer for what he had done, especially the Horn Scent. They cursed Messmer, his family, and his mother Queen Marika. Despite being driven out, having his eye plucked out, and shunned down by his mother, Messmer still took the blame for the deed he has done on the orders of Marika. He didn't really like what he had done. He even despised his own flames." Messmer's armor item description reads, "On his mother's wishes, Messmer made himself a symbol of fear, undertaking the cleansing crusade she desired." Messmer's orb item description reads, "Messmer despised his own fire time and time again. He hoped to rid himself of it, but ever did it burn." But then something unexpected happened for his soldiers. Marika stripped them of their graces. Then they understood that they were shunned. The Earth Tree priests, to keep the soldiers brave, invented the Iris of Grace, something that would mimic the Grace's effect, if only briefly. Iris of Grace item description says, "In the realm of shadow, this artifice was employed by the priests of the Earth Tree to quell the fears of their flock, to magnificent effect. The soldiers, or the non-soldiers who followed Messmer, did not believe this. One ghost we meet in the DLC certainly doesn't believe that Marika would abandon her son. And in his words, 'No, such a thing is utterly inconceivable. We have not been abandoned. Messmer is the son of Queen Marika. Her grace would never abandon her own flesh and blood.' At this point, Messmer accepted his fate, that he would be cursed forever. You might still be wondering why he attacks us, since he isn't tainted with the madness of a great rune, since he doesn't possess any. That might be a doing of Mikala. In the middle of the fight, he is beaten. Panting, he looks at the statue of his mother, Queen Marika, holding in her arms a baby, symbolizing Messmer. After he apologizes to his mother, he plucks out the seal of grace placed inside his eye socket by Marika, and breaks it, letting the base serpent loose.
No, Mother, forgive me. Soon tarnished. Wilt thou be taken in the jaws of the abyssal serpent, shorn of life?
and his final words, for the first time ever, was a curse towards his own mother. In his agony-filled life, he had to hide away his curse. He was leading a crusade against others who were similar to him, those who had afflictions. He had to withstand against the hate and persecution of others, just because he followed his mother's orders. And even when shunned and abandoned, he took the blame on himself, while his mother drove him away to forever stay in a realm away from his home.